Unleash the power of knowledge and connect with the heartbeat of the African diaspora. Download our African Diaspora News Channel app now on Google Play and Apple App Store. Stay informed with authentic and diverse perspectives, breaking news, and cultural insights. Immerse yourself in a community that celebrates unity, resilience, and progress. Experience the vibrancy of the diaspora at your fingertips. Don't miss out. Empower your perspective today. Search African Diaspora News Channel and join the conversation.
My name is Naledi Mfoloe, and it is my absolute pleasure to welcome you to the latest edition of the African Diaspora News Channel, where we unravel the stories that shape our world and our communities. Now, recently, a Black family in North Carolina has found themselves at the mercy of a botched police raid that was not only unlawful, but completely reckless. Now, Avery Marshall and his fiancée, Alisa Carr, in partnership with the Institute of Justice, are actually suing two sheriff's departments, which is the Pender County Sheriff's Department and the Lee County Sheriff's Department, for actually violating their rights and putting their lives in danger. And what's more infuriating is that this raid was based on a flawed and false premise. Now, this all started on April 10 of 2024. The Lee County Sheriff's Office was looking for a man named Joseph Clark Jr., who was suspected of car burglaries, right? But the officers made the critical mistake of believing that Clark's phone had pinged near Avery and Elisa's home, which, according to them, was a 52-meter radius that was supposed to lead them to the right address. But here's the kicker, right? At least 5 other properties fell within that radius. 5 properties. But no, they decided it was Avery and Alyssa's home. But wait, right? It gets worse. The officers targeted this Black family's home because of a Nissan sedan they saw parked out in front. They assumed, according to them, that it was the suspect's car, but there was one big problem. That Nissan was registered to Elisa, and her car was a different model, which was 10 years newer than the car the police were actually looking for. Different license plate, different VIN number, yet these officers went ahead and used that flawed information to obtain a warrant, which they clearly misled the magistrate about. So imagine this, right? Avery and Elisa were sleeping in their home when they heard loud banging at the door, right? Deputies from Pender County Sheriff's Office stormed in, breaking down the storm door, breaking the front metal door, and throwing flashbang grenades into their home. Now let me pause there. For those who don't know what flashbangs are, they are explosive devices meant to disorient and blind. They're not just loud, they fill the house with nauseous fumes that cause burning eyes, difficulty breathing, and the overwhelming confusion. So it's incredibly dangerous tactic, and it's even worse when it's aimed at innocent people in their own home. And then they went further, right? So they ordered Avery, who had just had a back surgery, by the way, to lie down on a glass-covered floor while he was shirtless. His children, 9 and 16 years old, were pulled from their bedrooms at gunpoint. Now, you can imagine that kind of fear, right? Being terrified in your own home, interrogated outside in a police wagon, and the emotional trauma that these kids and his family must carry is quite unimaginable. But it didn't even stop there. So the officers damaged their property, taking a sledgehammer to their wall, tearing up the floors. Alyssa was sent to the hospital for breathing issues caused by the flashbangs. And now Avery, Alyssa, and their children are left not only to rebuild their lives emotionally and mentally, but also to deal with the financial burden of a damaged home they can't even afford to repair to fix what was broken. Let's watch.
That night was something I'll never forget.
I felt like I was going to die.
Go to the ground, lay with your hands out. Lay flat on the ground.
The door flew open. And as the door flew open, glass flew in the house, in the living room. And, I was so scared. I couldn't move. Plus, I was hurting from my back injury.
He had back surgery with stitches in his back. And they made him crawl in the glass, lay in the glass on the floor. And then one of the police officers put their foot on his back.
He had a AR rifle pointed with a light on it, pointed in his face. And I'm yelling at him, telling him, look, he's 9 years old. And I felt like, I felt like I was gonna die.
I was just sitting there gasping for breath, and I couldn't breathe. And my heart started fluttering like the time I had my past 2 heart attacks. So I told the officer, I was like, I can't breathe.
I mentioned something to one of the detectives that was in here that night, and I said, what are y'all gonna do about my stuff that was messed up in here, the couch and the chairs and the door and stuff? He looked at me and told me, so you better be glad that they didn't take the couch and throw it into the big screen TV that you got on the wall.
Now, this is the kind of reckless disregard for Black life that we keep seeing time and time again. And it's bad enough that these departments mislead the courts, but the police response was nothing short of criminal. This raid never should have happened. Yet, despite all the clear evidence of police misconduct, there's still people out there who claim that Black people are just making things up. And let me remind you, family, because this is what happens when the police are allowed to operate with impunity, with no checks and balances, and when Black families are treated as disposable. When will enough be enough? This family is standing up for what is right. They're saying no more. Avery, Alyssa, and their kids deserve justice. They deserve to be compensated for the harm that they faced. And they deserve to be free from the fear that their home will be raided again for no reason at all. But we all have to ask, right? How many more Black families will have to endure this before real change actually happens? When will police departments be held accountable for the damage that they cause, and not just physically, but emotionally, mentally, and spiritually, right? Now, I want to hear from you. What are your thoughts about this? Please, let's continue the conversation in the comment section. And while you're at it, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. That's it from me. Till we meet again.